All right, and we are live. We were off for a few weeks. We're back better than ever before. So I'm Jack. Welcome into episode 19 of Catch and Counter. As always, I'm here with my co-host Nibs, and the guest that we have. He really don't need any introduction, but I'm gonna introduce him anyways. You see the title in the new. We got my guy Abraham Supernova. He's got a huge fight coming up against Oshaki Foster next Friday, February 16th at the Madison Square Garden Theater. So Abe, first of all, thank you for your time. And how's everything going? Just what's your mindset like right now, getting ready, being basically a week out of the biggest fight of your life, your first world title opportunity?
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank my Lord and Savior for this, for everything, and then I want to thank you guys for giving me this opportunity to, talk about the fight and talk about myself. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling excited. All the hard work's been done. Now it's time, cut this weight and perform on Friday night.
For sure, and we did a great episode of the Fight Life with you. We've got a bunch of great reviews on that, so I did a lot of speaking with you on and off camera on that. So I'm gonna pass it over to Nibs real quick. He's gonna give some questions, and I'll kind of fit in here and there. But Nibs, the floor is yours. You can ask away, my guy.
What's good, baby? First off, let's get this man his flowers. He's being mad humble. This dude had over 180 amateur fights, won over 160 of them. He's killing people in the ring right now as a professional with only one loss in 26, 27 fights. The Nova, man. Everybody give this man his fight. This is just take a moment to realize who we really got with us in the building right now. He's going for his first world title, baby. I got to ask you, man, now being here, 8 years in, right? What does it mean to get this first title fight to you?
Um, I would say, it's been a bit long overdue, but it's here, and I'm not, letting off the gas. I'm taking full advantage of this opportunity. This is like you could say once in a lifetime. Not every fighter could get to fight for a world title, could be in a position to compete for a world title, And then I feel I'm very grateful and very thankful, thanks to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for, allowing me to be in this position and to be able to fight for this title, and especially my team and Top Rank and ESPN, But I'm excited, and I feel like it's the perfect time. I feel like if this was it earlier, I wouldn't be as mature and as wise as I am now to be able to fight for this title. As in that I would have let the limelight take over, and I know what to expect. I know what to do. So this opportunity, I'm seriously gonna take full advantage of it.
That's great, man. And you know what? There's a lot of guys out there that are young and wouldn't know what to do with the opportunity, and they would waste it. So I appreciate you bringing that up because that is something that the casual fans need to know. Right? It's not just about having talent. You got to have your mental game on point. How much would you say your mental preparation versus your physical preparation has grown since you move up to 130?
So physical, I would say, I won't say it grown a lot. It grown a lot. Of course, it grown a lot. But we're athletes. We know how to stay in shape. We know how to grind. We know how to be in good shape all year round, or whenever we getting ready for a fight. Right? We're athletes. That's if I got to get in shape, I can get in shape. Right? But my mental is by far the best I could ever think. I didn't understand this is a whole nother level of the mental that I have now, the knowledge and the wisdom and just the understanding of life, and he's understanding how everything works, right? And being patient and about having peace within yourself and understand God's time. And understand that what I mean, we don't have control of what we do. God has control of what you do. So my mental is at a whole nother level. Mentally, I feel like I'm very wise, and I'm a lot more mature. I'm able to take this pressure in a whole different way than I would have before. I know if I would have had this pressure before, it would have been so good. But I'm very happy and excited that this opportunity is happening now because I'm mentally ready.
And obviously, we see that within the new. And I'm with you. I'm riding with you. And I want people to know we got much mad respect for Shaq and what he's been doing, fostering his team. They put him in a good, position to be where he's at now. He's a hell of a champion. But I'm picking you to win this fight because of the way I believe in you since the first time I saw you fight against Pedro Navarrete. What is it that you see in Shaq that lets you know he's got a problem on his hands come next week?
So, like you were saying, Jackie Foster, he's a hell of a fighter. I take my hats off for him. Just his story, everything he overcame, all the adversity he overcame. You gotta be a fighter and a very mentally strong dude to be able to overcome those things and be able to be where you're at now. So my hats all off to him. He's a very skillful fighter, very elusive. Is a great mover. Good counter puncher, good fighter overall. But I have a lot of tricks, a lot of gifts under my sleeve that God has blessed me. Number one is I have God given power, and I mean that's something you can't teach. You can't teach that. It's something that you're born with. I mean, so
Right.
I'm born and you're gifted that. My Lord and Savior has given me that blessing, that gift that I have God given power. He also gives me my knowledge. My IQ in boxing is very. I don't like to brag or talk very high, but I feel like my IQ in understanding fights and understanding boxing is very high. It's the reason why a lot of fighters and bookkeepers come to me and ask me who I think is gonna win, how a fight's gonna be playing because my knowledge, I really don't miss when it comes down to picking fights. So my knowledge of boxing is very high. I feel like those are things he has to be worried about, and one another thing he has to be worried about is also my speed. People don't think I'm fast. I'm a lot faster. I'm telling you, I'm super fast. I so much rely so much on my power that I forget about speed. But I have speed, and you guys gonna be seeing a lot of speed. A lot of speed. So, but I have speed. I have power. It's a combination, timing. I have a combination of everything. I'm very athletic, explosive, but the gift is my mental. I feel like my mental is the best thing. I don't fall under pressure. I know how to shine under the pressure. I feel like that's my biggest gift is my mind, my mental.
You bet. I like it, bro. Jackie on mute.
There we go, a little smooth, but I said he says he don't miss with his picks, so we might have to have him on some of our betting segments eventually, win people some money. But one question I have, which I'm sure other people will have too, is that one thing people always notice about you is the beard come fight night. Now I know kind of the story behind it, but kind of explain to some people who might not understand just kind of just the meaning and overall, because there's a real big meaning kind of just behind the beard on fight night for you.
Yes, absolutely. There's a very big meaning and big story behind the beard. The beard, if you guys know, I was born in Carolina, Puerto Rico, so I'm Puerto Rican by birth. My parents are Dominican, so they travel from Dominican Republic and have me in Puerto Rico. Um, so being a Puerto Rican, being born in Puerto Rico and being a Puerto Rican, um, the big hurricane. I don't know if you guys remember Maria. It's called Maria. Happened, and when that happened, the national baseball team dyed their hair blonde. And me being Puerto Rican, being born in Puerto Rico, I said, hey, let me show support and do the same thing. But instead of dyeing my hair, let me dye my beard. So I end up dyeing my beard, and the feedback that I got from it was amazing. I had good comments and I had bad comments, but overall, I had people talking, and that was the best thing. I had people talking. I was like, "Wow, this is really a great way to market myself." So, I just kept rocking the blonde beard, and it was very catchy. Like I said, people will talk good, people will talk bad, but they was talking, and I was like, "Hey, if they're talking and my name is being mentioned, we're rocking with this." But it definitely started with the baseball team in Puerto Rico, the baseball team, because the color blonde, it means unity. And around that time in the hurricane, everybody they dyed their hair blonde so everybody could remember to stay together during those tough times. That's why it's the color blonde. But we took off of it, and we've been rocking with it since.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And there's a few things I think people always associate with you. Like you said, one is I think your punching power. Two is the beard, and then three's got to be the mascot. I mean, come on now, that's a big thing. Nibs had mentioned it before, so I think that's a huge thing. It's great for your marketing, and I think it's kind of got your name out there even more. It kind of helped you build as a star. So talk about how that idea kind of came about, and also how that's helped you just kind of market yourself as a fighter and grow into the world title challenger that you are right now.
Absolutely. So the mascot came in different ways. So as a kid, I played various sports. I was a very successful football player, very successful basketball player. I mean baseball player. I was very good at sports. And anything I touched, I tried tennis, I was good. I tried basketball, I was good. So anything I touched, I was good. And seeing all these sports, I seen that they all have mascots. I'm like, wow, they have mascots. And I was like, what can I take from these sports and bring it into boxing? I said I could bring a mascot. So I first was gonna start with an animal. I was like, you know what I mean? Let's get an animal. Right? I was thinking, what animal fits me? I don't want to get a lion because everybody's a lion in boxing. And I want to get a tiger, right? I was thinking of like a leopard or like a jaguar, right? But I was like, nah, let's get a mascot of myself. And this is me talking to myself. I'm not talking to nobody. This is me just thinking of being creative and finding a different way to have exposure out there. So I was like, nah, let's do a mask of myself. So I ran it through with my family. So my family is a big key to my success and big key of everything of my whole life and journey, right? So I ran it with my brother, Danny, and my brothers and sisters, and they loved the idea. I said, all right, perfect. So we looked it up. How can we get a mascot made? We found one, and boom, we got it. And since then, we haven't missed. Like it's been great. I've actually loved having a mascot because it takes a lot of pressure off of me. Everyone want to take pictures with the mascot. They forget I'm there. They forget I'm a fighter. They forget I'm the original dude. But they see this mascot and everybody takes pictures. So it helps me stay at peace, focus on what I gotta do, and everybody's it's all over the mascot. So the mascot has helped me in so many ways. I'm very grateful with the mascot, and the guys will definitely be seeing it Friday night, February 16th.
For sure. I'm excited to see it in person. I've been seeing it on TV. To be able to see it in person is going to be really cool too. So I got one more, and then I'll pass it back to my guy Nibs. But the Adam Lopez fight you had, which was a fantastic fight, it was actually an honorable mention for us for fight of the year. Just fantastic fight. But for you, I think it was early rounds were kind of back and forth, and then after that first knockdown, I think you kind of fully got control. So how big was it? You're a confident guy, anyways, but as you said, even in the Fight Life episode, everybody kind of questions himself a little bit after a defeat. So how big for your confidence was it for you to score that first knockdown against Adam Lopez, and was that kind of what you needed to kind of just fully, just get back to just being 100%?
Absolutely. The Adam Lopez, people don't know all the demons I faced in that fight. People don't know. People don't see that. I got knocked out cold by Robesi Ramirez, right? And then, if anybody you see in a boxing game that gets knocked out, right? Who do you see in the boxing game gets knocked out and takes up a tough challenger, right? 9 out of 10 people that get knocked out, they take a tune-up fight, to test their skills, get their confidence back, make sure they get a win, right? But I said no, right? I talked to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and I said, hey, God, if you want me to do this, um, I'm gonna take this fight that they offer me, and if I win, it's because you want me to stick it out. So I I took the fight in 5 months, right? So I fought Robesi in June, and I got the call to fight him in November. So that's what June, July, August, September, October, November, right? That's 4 or 5 months, like right. So like boom, I'm already back in the gym, back grinding after being flattened. Um, my team, they didn't like it. Was like this is tough. Like nobody gets back like this fast, and it takes a difficult fight like this. And I was like, nah, this is if I can't beat this guy, then I'm not meant to box. Like this, like I mean, I'm not this is not for me, right? I know I had a hiccup that night, but one night does not define who you are as a fighter, right? We all have good times, good nights, good bad nights, but one night does not define you who are as a fighter. And I really believe that. And I really, like I'm a very religious guy. I have high faith in my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And I told him, I say, look, if you want me doing this, now I'm gonna take this fight, and if I win, is that's because you want me to do this. So going into the fight, like I said, I had a lot of demons going on. I had my nerves was there, what I mean, little self doubt, and I mean I can't lie, not sure if I'm able to take a punch, um it was my birthday the same day, so now I'm fighting back from a knockout loss, and I'm fighting on my birthday, like turning 29 years old, and I'm fighting on my birthday. I'm like, wow. And on top of that, I'm fighting in my home city. So I'm fighting with all my fans, my home city, so I have to impress. I'm fighting on my birthday, and I'm just coming back from a knockout loss, fighting a very tough, rugged fighter. So I'm like, if I don't, if I don't get this guy out, if I don't win this fight, then this not meant for me, you know. And I went in there, you know, and I was like, God, you take control of this. And I went in there, and yes, I was, you know, just studying, seeing, being patient. You're seeing what I have in front of me, you know, and the moment came where we exchanged. I caught him with a nice left hook, and boom, like, yeah, I'm in this. I'm in this. But before that, he had caught me with a good right hand, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm good. Like, I'm I could take a shot, right? Because he caught me with good right hand, couple body shots. Like, yeah, I'm good. And then I caught him with that exchange, and then yeah, I'm not gonna say my yeah. If any fighter, confidence will go up if you knock down a fighter. You can't tell me not one fighter's confidence gonna go up. Yeah, of course it went up, you know, but it was there, and when it went up, I mean, it was tough to stop my momentum, and I was able to come out victorious.
Hey, bro, I appreciate you actually talking about that because there's not a lot of fighters who even want to talk about a knockout loss, right? So I appreciate the fact that I mean, you own it. It's like, hey, look, yeah, I got knocked out, but I came right back. And I think that's a good message to a lot of guys out there. Just because you take a L, you take a bad L, you get knocked out, doesn't mean you can't come back. I mean, look, you know what? You got knocked out, and here you are fighting for a world title in a week. So and that was a couple years ago. We're talking about a quick turnaround, bro. It's not like it took you 10 years to get back, from that L to get a championship fight. You bet on yourself. You beat the dudes that you needed to beat, not the guys that you needed to beat to get your confidence right, but you beat the guys you needed to beat to put you in a position to challenge for a world title. I mean, look, that Adam Lopez when that aged very well, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? There are a lot of dudes in the top 10 that don't want none of that smoke with Adam Lopez. You know what I'm saying? He's a dog. And you made it look like easy work that night. And I want people to understand that just because you take a L, we talk about this all the time here on ITR as a whole, but especially here on Catch and Counter, losses don't make you any less of a champion, right? Some of our greatest fighters of all time got several losses on their hands, but why? Because they're fighting the best. When you fighting the best in the world, there's going to be some adversity. Sometimes you might take an L in that, but it's the way you come back from that. And I think that's a testament to who you are, not only as a boxer, but as a man, how you handled the comeback. Not just how, because you could have, like you said, you could have, and nobody would have blamed you for taking an easy, fight. Let me take a dude who's got like, 15 losses or some shit like that. Nah, you came back the hard way. And I think that's puts you not only in the position you need to be come fight night, but in life in general, man. So I just wanted to give you your flowers and my hats off to you for taking ownership of that.
Absolutely, and that's how we learn. We have to accept and admit, you know, when we messed up and when we lose or when we did something wrong, and that's how you're able to learn and grow from it, right? I have to own up, be like, well, basically, what's the better man? He got me out my feelings. He got me fighting an emotional fight. He won fair and square, regardless of the weight cut and the dehydration. He won, and he knocked me out. And I have to fix the big key. Yes, rehydration went up, but the big key was that he made me fight an emotional fight. He drew me into a hit, and it happened, right? You got to learn from your mistakes. And if you don't learn from your mistakes, you will never grow. And I feel like I really learned. You know, Verbase is a great fighter. You know, hats off to him. You know, he caught me fair and square, but I'm not that same fighter.
Speaking on that, now that because I feel like this. We talked about this off air. I feel like you become a much better fighter than even the version I saw of you at 125, at 130. I believe you can go up even to 135 because of your size, right? I think that's something would be easy for you to do. You can speak on it more than I can because I'm not you, right? But from what somebody on the outside looking in, I'm thinking like you a dude who can go up to as high as 140 if you wanted to, maybe even 147 because of your frame, right? Not everybody can, but I think you have the frame to kind of move really any of those divisions comfortably. And I know you're not making no excuses, but I think that at this weight, would you be willing to run it back with Robeisy at like one of the 130, 135 maybe down the road if that were to come about?
Absolutely. First, definitely, I will go up to 135, 140, 147. I have the frame. I definitely have the power to fight with those guys. I'll that's something that I would not be hesitant. Wouldn't be a move I'll be hesitant to make. Talking about the Robacy, yes, if he comes up to 130, I would love to take that rematch with him at 130. That's something that, of course, I will go back down to 26, but at 130, let's get it on. Let's get it on. But my main focus is Oshaki Forster right now, and like I legit like can't stop. I know it's weird, but I can't stop like thinking of the fight, thinking of the picturing the fight, picturing the whole momentum. It's all mine. It's all I'm thinking about, and I can't wait for Friday night. I really can't. Like usually, I'm like I can't wait for weigh-ins. No, I can't wait for Friday night. I mean, I'm like I can't wait for Friday night. I mean, the weigh-ins are gonna make the weights. That's not the problem. What I want is Friday night. I want to fight.
Man, and we can't wait for the fight, baby. And is there anything going to be crazy in the walk-in? Anything we can look forward to? The show before the show.
Yeah, you guys could look for an awesome and amazing singer coming out with me. He'll be
Okay.
Spanish, but he's a man of God, and you guys could expect a good entertainment coming out. Me, the mascot, and of course my cheerleaders.
That's what's up. I got one more question for you. So obviously I was up at the gym with you guys earlier. So I did an interview with Julian, which is going to be up on our site pretty soon. But I asked him the same question. But Julian Baptiste, if anyone doesn't know, he's going to be a middleweight from this area, the New England area. He's going to be fighting on the undercard too. You guys have been in the gym. You guys have trained with each other. So what is it like for you to have the fight of your life in a world title fight, but for him also to be fighting in a big stage like this, and for you guys to kind of share that moment together? He's starting the card, and you're wrapping up the card.
Training along with him, we push each other. He has a high work ethic. He works very, very hard, and he's working, I see him working, so we just drive off each other's work ethic, and just to know that, he be starting off the night and I'll be closing out the show. It just tells you that, man, this is meant to be.
And hey, champ, I got one more question for you, man. Before I let you go, bro, what is it about you? What is it about Abraham Supernova that you want people to know about you in any capacity that they may not already know?
What you guys and I gotta let you guys know is that you must seek our Savior Jesus Christ, because He is the one. He is the King, the gods of gods, the Lord of lords. Without Him, you won't have eternal life. I'm a big high believer in Him. My parents are pastors. Mom and my dad are pastors. They're missionaries. We are big givers, so we give back a lot. Everything we do, we give. We're big givers. Um, and one thing about me, man, I'm a very down to earth and very, very uh straightforward guy. Like yeah, I'm very down to earth and very straightforward. I don't sugarcoat a lot of things. I'm like very honest about things, and I have a very special skill set on reading people. It's a gift that I've been blessed with. I know how to read people very well, and doesn't mean I have to have a conversation with them. I just God has gifted me with understanding people's body language and who they are. So, what I mean, if you was around me, don't slip up, because I want to know who you are before you even know.
Hey, well, we appreciate it, man. Thank you for being so candid with us and giving us, an insight to you not only as a boxer but as a man. And it's been nothing but a pleasure. Like I told you from the jump, man. I've been a fan since way before any of these big fights came on, and I think you are what the sport needs. I think what you're doing with the sport is going to be amazing. I think in a year or two we're going to be talking about you in the pound for pound list. And I think that everything from not only your boxing style but the mascot and all that is genius, baby. So I can't wait to watch you cook.
Absolutely. Thank you for this interview. Thank you for your time. thanks both of you. You guys took your time out to give me this interview and let me share my thoughts and my predictions and my ideas with the fans and the people around the world. God bless y'all and keep rooting for me.
And
I,
new.
yes, sir. I'd appreciate it, Abe. I'll tap in with you fight week and everything. So have a good night, my guy. God bless.
Cool. Peace.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Abraham Supernova got a big fight coming up at Nibs. We talk about guys' minds being right. Tell me that's not a guy with his mind right coming up for a big fight. I mean, man.
Bro, we talk about this all the time, bro. How many times have you seen a guy, especially younger or in the biggest fight of his life, take a L and it crush him, right? And then they're never the same. And I wanted to make this point. He was talking about, yeah, I could have took those easy fights. His promoter probably wanted him to. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else around him probably wanted him to. Hey, let's get you back on the win column, right? Let's do some easy pickings. The problem with that is a lot of times those guys you think are easy fights might they might not be getting the memo. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, okay, well, if I struggle against this journeyman I was supposed to whitewash, it actually has the opposite effect. Sometimes that happens, right? Or you get overconfident because you knock the guy out, and then you don't take your training as serious as you should be when you get in there against an Adam Lopez type guy. So the fact that, like you said, 4 or 5 months after getting, that devastating loss, he's back in the gym. He's fighting a dude who, most of us, like I said, there are a lot of dudes in the top 10 that don't want none of that smoke.
Yeah.
With
Lopez was the favorite going into that too. Abe was actually the slight underdog come fight night too.
you feel me? And
Mm-hmm.
he made it look easy, bro. If you have a fight against Adam Lopez and you make it look easy, that's the elite level skill. We're not talking about him being just a good fighter. I'm telling you, if things continue, which I believe they will, the way they have been these last couple of years since that Robesi fight, we gonna be talking about Supernova in a pound for pound list pretty soon, bro.
Yeah, one of the things I've always respected about him too is that even off camera, we got into a little bit in the Fight Life episode, but the cut to 126 was not easy for him. He had a lot going on inside and outside the ring during the Robesi fight, but you heard him right there. He just said Robesi was the better guy. Think about all these excuses a lot of guys make, and they grasp for things that aren't really there. I can tell you right now, some things he has mentioned, some things he hasn't mentioned. This dude's got a lot of things that he could bring up about that fight week, that camp. It's kind of like the Errol Spence thing before that he said it. I might have excuses, but you ain't never gonna hear him. So that's something I've
None.
always loved. Even when we were just talking to him about it, he said, "Hey, he was the better man. He could have brought up a lot of valid things that other people would have brought up so fast right away. But he just ain't that kind of guy. So that's something I've always respected too."
And even now, like you said, he could have said it right
Mm-hmm.
now. He said there was some shit going on, but guess what? I got beat.
Mm-hmm.
If you man enough to sign on the dotted line and take the fight, no matter what you got going on outside of the ring, if you get in there, hey, all that shit goes out the window. You gotta get out there and handle your business. So like I said, I appreciate the fact that he's owned it. He's owned it. He's moved on and he's moved up. Right. I think with his frame, bro, 135, 140, that's his wheelhouse, bro. I think in a couple of years he could be, 140 unified champ. I'm not blowing smoke. I really believe Abraham Nova has what, the sport of boxing needs right now, and he's catching fire at the right time, bro.
Yeah, but hey, trust me, anybody who watches this shows know that you don't blow smoke at all for anybody. So that's one
Now,
thing you definitely don't got to worry about. But I see
and
what you're
like I
saying.
told
But
him,
Abe,
I'm a
but
fan. I'm a fan
mm-hmm.
of Shaq. Like I
Mm-hmm.
look, bro. Anybody else, I'm Team Shaq. Everybody at
Mm-hmm.
ITR knows this, bro. I fucks with Shaq
Mm-hmm.
hard. You know what I'm saying? So when I say I think Nova's gonna beat Shaq, believe me when I tell you, it's not. It wasn't me just I'm picking him because I'm a bigger fan of him. Nah, I'm about equal parts fan of both of these dudes. I just think Abe got it, bro. I think he's got it, and I think that he's going to be in a position again in the next couple of years where he's circling that pound for pound list, if not on it.
Yeah. And this fight's kind of everything that's right with boxing too. You got two guys, two world class guys. They both have losses on their record. They both been able to fight through adversity, and they're both have gone through some shit and they've came out a better fighter because of it. How many times have we seen guys lose fights and also just accountability? You see how just accountable Abe was about just realizing, okay, I got to go back to the drawing board. I got to do this. I got to do that. You can tell Foster kind of did the same thing, and those guys are better because of it. Some guys will make excuses. They don't kind of apply the things they need to do, and they kind of plateau after their losses. But these guys have been able to kind of push through that door and become even better, and they're both at their peak right now. That's why I think it's such a damn good fight too.
Bro, I'll be honest with you. I would not be surprised if Foster can pull out a win on this. I am rolling with Nova. I'm not jumping ship on it. I'm not changing my pick. I'm picking him, and I think he can actually, maybe even get it in there early. But I'm telling you, either an early knockout happens, one way or the other, right? Or this is going to be one of the best fights This might end up being on the short list of fight of the year candidates, bro. Because I'm here to tell you, even though I'm picking Nova, Shaq is a dog. Shaq is a real dog. Like people who don't
last fight, he can bite. He showed in that last fight he can bite down too.
Man, for anybody who do yourself a favor, if you haven't seen O'Shaquie Foster fight, go look him up. He's all over YouTube, especially this last fight. You talking about, like you said, just letting your balls hang, gritting and bearing on that mouthpiece, and getting to work. My man got busy. So, anybody who thinks, oh well, I'm talking shit about Shaq. Nah, there's a real chance he can win this fight. I'm picking Nova, but I'm here to tell you, it's either going to be a quick night for one of the two of them, or we gonna have one of the best fights of the year, hands down, bro.
Yeah, it's funny because you kind of as you kind of bring that up, I was gonna say I think this fight's got fight of the year potential, and it really does. As you said, talk about we already know Shaq can bite down, and I think anybody who just listened to Nova talk and watched the Fight Life knows that he's coming to fight too. Neither guy's coming to lay down. Tim Bradley's been saying that when he talks about the fight on ESPN. He's been very confident in Abraham's abilities, just saying that he's coming to fight 100%. So man, I just think that that's why this fight. Neither guy's going to back down. I think they're going to leave everything and then some in the ring fight night. And just being able for me to be able to be there. First of all, I like going to any of these fights anyways. I got to see Shakur fight earlier this year. But to go to a real world title fight, especially me knowing somebody in the main event as much as I've gotten to know Abraham now, knowing somebody fighting on the undercard too, I mean, man, it doesn't get much better than that at the end of the day in this sport. That's why we're in this sport. And that's why we build these connections for us for moments just like Friday night.
Bro, I'm jealous, bro. I'm jealous. I couldn't be there. You know what I'm saying? I'll be working again next Friday night, and so for those that over here clowning my tie and stuff, I'm at work. As a matter of fact, Jack, I got to get back, brother. I hate to cut you off and make you ride solo for the rest of the night, but I got to get back in here and get back to these people in the services. But when I knew Nova was coming on, I had to be on. I had to be on here, bro. Been a big fan. And, it's catch and counter, bro. We make it do what it do. So before I get out of here, go check out your local sports. Go check out. I'm giving it early, but Jack's going to finish the show. But I just got to, look, go out there, support your local boxing. We got merch for that coming up, too. Check, be looking out on the outlook for that. And really just think about it like this. The guy we just had on, right, was fighting locally a handful of years ago. We're not talking about, 10 years ago. 5 years ago, this dude was on local cards. Now he's fighting for a world title, right? And he branded himself. He got himself up there. He did it the hard way. So when we say support local boxing, this is what we mean by it. These guys that you're going out there to support, this is a guy Jack can go out and reach out and touch locally, and he's supporting it. Not just because he's big time now, but because guess what? When he wasn't big time, he needed guys like that in the gym supporting him and putting him in the right position. You heard him say it himself. It's all about, support mentally and physically, right? So sometimes that we need to let these guys know what they mean to us as a community, and then they get in there and they get these opportunities. I'm out of here, Jack. It's been one.
Yes, sir. That's a fact, bro. All right, I'll see you. Have a good night. Yeah, so man, it was cool to talk to Abraham right there. Want to shout out to everybody who's in the building too. We didn't get to it at the time because we were kind of getting through the questions, but shout out to Hybrid. We got Brian Stewart in the building, Lukey in the building, Felix in the building. We got my guy Jeff from Bourbon and Boxing in the building. Shout out to his. Check out his channel too. He's very good, big very good boxing mind too. So if you like our stuff, I'm sure you'll appreciate his stuff also. And then, as Felix mentioned too, we got Edward Nano Ceballos on the undercard too. Shout out to Arizona Boxing. It's gonna be cool to see him in the undercard. I know Felix did an episode of 365 with him on our channel too, so it's gonna be cool to have the Arizona connection. Obviously, I've been locking down the New England region, so I know Julian Baptiste and I know Abraham on the card too. So, man, it's gonna be a really good night of fight. So, anytime, my guy Jeff. So, I want to move on quickly. I think Felix might be joining me in a few minutes, but I want to touch on. We're gonna get into the fights from last night, but the first thing I want to touch on is Abdullah Mason. I mean, man, talk about just a special talent. And here he is, right on time.
What's up, man? I was just chilling, bro. So I had to hop on. Hey, man, no off nights. If business calls, I gotta come. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. We were just about to get into the fights from last night, but first of all, what'd you think about kind of just seeing where Abraham's mind is? Obviously, you saw the Fight Life episode, but man, if there's a guy who's ready to go, I think he checks all those boxes right now. What'd you think about just even what he was saying with us on here too?
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Just from his Fight Life episode and what he said, he's locked in. He seems at peace. Like that is the thing. Like he is completely at peace with everything too, and that's huge. That goes a long way for really any human being. You know what I mean? Being at peace in life can take you very far, and he seems like he's very at peace with everything right now. And it seems like victory next weekend is all but a foregone conclusion. You know what I mean? Like he's there. He's already a champion. He's already claimed it, and his faith. I like seeing how his strong connection with God is and everything too. So it seems like it's inevitable, and he's just there. He's doing what the work he has to do to make it a reality. But it's definitely going to happen for sure. I like what I see with him. He's a great humble fighter, man. A good dude for sure.
No, he really is a good dude, and I can tell you guys that you can tell when guys come on camera and they're like that, you assume they're like that off camera too. But man, he is just such a genuine person, and just he's anything we've ever needed, he's taken care of. So anything we need, he'll take care of. Anything he needs, I take care of. So man, it's been really cool, and just that the way he's, as you said, he's at peace. But I think that's when those fighters are most dangerous because he's so confident right now and he's so at peace, and he's just. Like you said, he's fought kind of demons before, but he is in just the right place, in the perfect place. He had said before just that if he had this fight 2 or 3 years earlier, he wouldn't have been ready for it. But going through the loss and stuff, it is the absolute perfect timing for him. And just from being in the gym and seeing him, you guys saw a little snippet of it in the Fight Life a bit, but man, I mean, he just works his ass off. And I wouldn't say that if he didn't, I wouldn't even mention it. But man, he really is in the gym every single day, basically all day, doing everything you can possibly do. Also making sure he doesn't overwork himself, doing his recovery, doing all those things, but he dots his I's and crosses all of his T's, and he's just talking about preparation to the fullest amount, and he does that every step of the way.
Yeah, and the if you guys haven't watched the Fight Life video, the opening part, man, like you can see. I like to pay attention to little details in videos, and like if there's a training sequence and the guy's hitting a bag and he's wearing red shorts and a black T-shirt. And then he's sparring wearing the same outfit. And, you can tell that all that footage is all from one single day. You watch that video that Jack put together, the documentary, The Fight Life. You can tell that those are a ton of different training sessions. And they were all, it was great footage. The intensity was there on all of it. Like he trains his ass off too. So, and you can tell that you spent a lot of time with him just by looking at little bits and pieces of the clips there. You spent a lot of time with him during his training camp. So I'm just going to turn it around on you real quick too and ask you from your perspective, what are you expecting next weekend based off of what you've seen from a bird's eye view?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm expecting first of all him to come absolutely ready to go. He's in great shape. He's got to cut a few more pounds, but as everyone knows, a week out, a few pounds is not that much. He's somebody who stays in shape 12 months of the year. Even when I saw him before he had the fight with Jonathan Romero, former Olympian, a former world champion, he was in shape, ready to go. After that fight, he's back in the gym. He's in shape, ready to go. So when this call comes up, he's in shape, ready to go. He's coming to training camp to just perfect things. He doesn't have to come in training camp to get in shape, to do any of those things, to kind of start working out. He's just kind of putting the finishing touches on during this camp. So I think that just his work ethic shows that he's going to be ready to go. I think from round 1 to round 12. And I just think some of the things he mentioned. I mean, some of the game plan things I'm not going to mention on here. I'll save that for fight night, and you guys will see it then. But I mean, just some of the things he mentioned, just his speed, his power, just his ability to kind of put everything together. I think with each fight, the Lopez fight, I think you started to see him put everything together later on in the fight with those knockdowns, and then that Romero fight, I think just the huge knockout he had, the huge knockdown he had the round before with the uppercut, I think you're really starting to see him put everything together. So I think the speed, the power, just the mental aspect he has, I think next Friday night you're going to see him put it all together.
Yeah, it's going to be great, man. I can't wait to see it. Definitely going to be locked in. And of course, as I as I mentioned, Edward Ceballos on the undercard. Shout out Arizona Boxing. Excuse me. Looking forward to that. That's gonna be a good one, and glad to see that we're getting out there too on the East Coast, making it. I mean, Edward, again, as Nib said, support local boxing all the time. Local club fighter, picked up the Arizona State Championship last September. He's fighting at boxing's like home, basically. Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena. Like that is, no matter what else he does in the rest of his career, that's huge right there. Again, support your local fighters. You never know where they're going to make it to.
Yeah, it's perfect. So obviously Abraham's, he's been in the spotlight for a little bit. He's been signed with Top Rank. He was number 1 in the country amateur, so he's been in the spotlight for a long time. For guys like Edward, for guys like my guy Julian Baptiste, who's also fighting in this undercard, who Abraham mentioned, who he trains with. Like those are the guys, as you said, they were just fighting in club shows, whether it's baseball fields, football fields, small ballrooms, all those things. Edward getting an Arizona title, Julian getting a Massachusetts, a USBF title, and those guys have now. That's why you want to pay attention to those guys, because now they're fighting on TV, and we already kind of know what to expect. You've already done, I mentioned the 365 on Edward, which those things will age well too as those guys get the big time opportunities.
Oh yeah, definitely. And again, we're gonna always, just to plug our own shit, that's the kind of content we're going to keep bringing you guys, is these up-and-coming fighters. And stay tuned. This spring, I'm going to have something very, very nice for you guys to really – all I'm going to say is if you've been a boxing fan and were a boxing fan in the 90s, you're going to love this. And if you weren't and you like to look back at stuff, you're going to love it either way. And if you are new to boxing, you're still going to love it. If you like ITR, you're going to love it, damn it. Everybody's going to love it.
There we go. And then one thing you've mentioned, which you wanted us to mention on the show, but I'll kind of let you bring it up too after this. I mean, your boy's got some homework, so of course he waited until he's got a deadline of midnight East Coast time, which is kind of creeping up on me, so we're not going to stay too much longer. But before we just briefly touch on the fights from last night, talk about some of just the merch or anything you wanted to mention, just the ITR brand that we're going to be building up. I'll kind of give you the chance to speak on that real quick.
Yes, ITR merch is coming. I'll show you guys right now since I'm here. Why not? This is a Catch and Counter exclusive that you got me. So here is the official. Oh, it's upside down. Yeah. The official Catch and Counter T-shirt. You guys will be able to get this on sale soon, along with this is
baby.
Yes, the Dog Watch T-shirt.
Yeah, and I think, not to spoil the Dog Watch pick, but I think we just spoke to the official pick for next week too. So I think we can pencil.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Right there for sure. There we go.
There's a couple. There's actually, I'm going to show you one more. Hold on. All right, this one is going to be what I was just talking about. We got something coming soon this spring for you guys. If you're a fan of boxing in the 90s, you're going to like it. This merch goes hand in hand with it. This is a little hint of what you got coming here.
There we go. I didn't know if you were going to show it, but everyone who's looking at this appreciate this, because he wasn't about to show that, but he decided to just for y'all. So there we go.
That's an exclusive. That's an exclusive. So all this merch is going to be available. There's a few other pieces up there. I'm going to work on that. That it's either going to go up tonight or at some point this weekend. The merch shop will be available. And just so you're aware, if you buy the Dog Watch T-shirt, just know that Jack Kelly is going to get hit off bread from that. That's his merch. The Catch and Counter, that's for him and Nibs. Anything that you see from any talent on there is going to them. So make sure the way we support local boxing, support your local podcasters too. Support them buying their merch. It'll be up this weekend at some point. I'm going to push for it tonight.
Yeah, and then here's time to do the thing, which we don't do a lot, but if you're going to support us, you might as well, if you're watching us, hit that like button. It's something we hate saying, but hey, it goes a long way for us. It helps us with sponsorships, and it helps us kind of grow the channel, so we appreciate that. Last time I'll say it, only time I'll say it, but it ain't the worst thing to kind of throw that in there. And then, hey, look at this. Pop said he looked great in the Catch and Counter T-shirt in New York City next week. So we've already been working on something about that. I was going to surprise him on that, but hey, Cat might be out of the bag a little bit on that one. But we shall see on
Sure.
that. But real quick,
I'm gonna have a special. You know, they have like my child is an honor roll student. I'm gonna have a my child is a podcaster T-shirt. I hope you rock that one, John.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. There we go. As long as I'm sure the designs will be on point. So
Oh, yeah.
no problem with that. So real quick, we'll just run through these things. I just want to touch on them. But first one, which I kind of got into a little bit before you got on, but it's just Abdullah Mason. I mean,
Oh, man.
just for a 19-year-old kid, you're just such a blend of. You talk about athleticism, you talk about speed, you talk about power, timing, IQ, maturity for a 19-year-old. I mean, you just don't see a lot of this stuff in a 19-year-old kid. And the way he was able to get that knockout. First, he had the guy hurt. It probably should have already been stopped on the feet. But then to be in the guard and to wait for the exact, to not rush it. A lot of young kids would rush it. And they'd still get the knockout because they're so fast, strong, and powerful and all those things. But for him to be able to wait and time the perfect shot and just loop that and just the speed and the precision on that left hand, as my guy Jeff is saying here, it's like a video game shot, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, man, it's just an absolute highlight, and just the timing and the patience that he had to set that up, to me, speaks volumes.
Yeah, it was amazing, man. It was great. It was highlight reel stuff. One thing that I saw on Facebook that I thought was interesting was, you know, a friend of mine. He's a boxing writer for a local Arizona publication out here. He was saying, just mentioning really quickly on how Abdullah Mason is now that Xander Zayas prospect, and he surpassed the excitement level that we had for Xander at one point. Is now all of us are feeling for Abdullah Mason, and he is now on that level. He's the guy to watch there at Top Rank. With all the prospects that they have, he is the guy. And that's a deep pool of prospects too.
Yeah, but even just his ceiling seems, we've seen a lot of top ranked guys. Even R.C. Xander was a great prospect, a lot of other great prospects, but his ceiling even seems like just that different level. Just he's able to go. One thing we've always talked about, Luke, you always mentioned with us too, is just offense to defense and defense to offense. He's able to do those things simultaneously, and at 19 years old, just even you see he's still going to grow into his man strength, but I mean, that dude can already crack now. Never mind once he grows into his body a little more too. So man, he's just going to be a problem. I think, was it an 8-round fight? So I think he's slowly starting to step up. But I mean, I think he's ready sooner rather than later to put him in. Maybe not a title fight, but get him in with ex-contenders or gatekeep level guys. I mean, he's ready at this point. I know he's 19 years old, so they might want to give him a few more fights, but man, I want to see him in there and kind of see if we can challenge him a little bit, because man, these guys are offering him no resistance, and he's in there with solid fighters. I think that guy was 12-3. He was a guy who had been game against other guys. He was a durable guy, but these guys that are durable against other guys, Abdullah's just different. So I want to see, once they step him up, kind of what he's able to do, because man, I couldn't possibly be more of a believer in a 19-year-old than I am in Abdullah Mason, for real.
Right, and because of his age and his weight class that he's at right now, you know, it's going to take him. He's going to fill up to 140 eventually. You know, however long that's going to take him, it might take a good while. He's going to handle business here. But when he gets there at that time, you know, there's going to be some big fights, and then I'm pretty sure he will eventually make it to 147.
That's what I think he's going to be in his prime, is welterweight. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That right there is going to be, there's going to be a future of huge showdown, a Crawford Spence type of level of excitement showdown. And that's many years out, but that's an early prediction of mine right there. That's my dog watch.
Yeah,
it's years out. It's many years away from now, but just keep your eyes on it.
Yeah, and I'll kind of one up your prediction, as Hybrid was talking about Abdullah being special. Tons of potential. I think the most potential, if you want to set potential, as Jeff mentioned, as a video game slider, he's got 99 potential, and I think there ain't no doubt about that. But how about this for my kind of super fight of the future? I think they're both with Top Rank right now, but an Abdullah Mason, Emiliano Vargas fight, I think that's a fight that they can build up as being, they're both at 35 right now. Maybe it's a welterweight fight 3, 4, 5 years down the line, but I think those two guys could be on a collision path. And talk about, I think that could be one of those big super fights. And still a little bit ways away. They're both still teenagers right now, but they both kind of have those extra twitchies, the IQ, and able to put a lot of things together for young kids.
Oh yeah, no, without a doubt, that would be a dope showdown if that was able to come together.
Yeah, I think it will eventually. So we'll move on now, and the co-main event, man, just a great performance by Keyshawn Davis too. He's been in the news a lot recently. I think even his last performance was a majority decision win against Wu Albright, which had then been overturned. So some question marks surrounding him. Jose Pedraza was the best opponent he had ever fought. Pedraza, two-division world champion. Had only been stopped by Tank Davis, and he'd given a lot of guys a run for his money, even in some of his losses in his draw against Comey, which I thought he won. But some people will say, I mean, I think the weight is a real factor. He hadn't made 135 in 4 years, so I think coming back down probably zapped a bit out of him, and he's 0-2-1 in his last 3 fights before this fight. But all that considered, I think that you can't take any credit away from what Keyshawn did, because even all these factors coming in, I don't think anybody thought he was going to do Pedraza the way he did him. Just from that second round on, man, he was in full control. Pedraza, I give him credit for even surviving that third round. But man, Keyshawn was just all the way locked in. The way just he works the body, the way he works the head, the way he's just so sharp right now. And those lapses he was having before, he wasn't having. He was just locked in from the opening bell. So real impressive performance from Keyshawn. Whether or not that's clearly not the best version of Pedraza, but I want to give Keyshawn all the credit in the world, because even if we're talking about these things with Pedraza, the weight and all those things, which I've seen a lot of people mention, you got to give this dude his credit, because all those things considered, I don't think any of us were picking the fight to go that way. So I want just the same energy to be kept on that one.
Yeah, no, I think honestly, super impressed with Keyshawn. We always have been, but I wanted to see him against somebody that I was familiar with, not somebody that has been around for a while, has a lot of experience, like somebody I've been watching for a while, someone I was familiar with, and that is Jose Pedraza. I remember him when he was undefeated himself, when he was Keyshawn Davis. So to see this, it was a great performance from Keyshawn. Definitely the best of his career so far, and the best opponent. I think he's definitely ready for that next step, and we'll use that to segue into the main event. But him and Teofimo had a lot to say to one another before the fight. Was very respectful, but you could tell Keyshawn felt a certain way towards Teofimo, and he was very clear in that message when they were sitting next to each other. After the fight, it got even more heated. So that's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out. If they're telling a story, then that's where I think the story leads to, right there. Those two guys.
It'll be interesting to see, because I know Keyshawn is at 35, but you could tell he's a big 30-pounder. I mean 35-pounder. Even when Pedraza was in there, it still looked like Keyshawn was a bigger and stronger guy, and Pedraza was the guy who had fought at 140 before. So Keyshawn will be at 140 eventually, without a doubt. And I think the fight that they're looking at right now could be to fight the Navarrete Berinchik winner, who's going to fight for the vacant WBO. So maybe have him potentially win a title against Navarrete, a guy who's fought at 22, 26, and 30. So they're thinking a bigger guy that would be still a huge win for Keyshawn. Navarrete is a big name. Then maybe build into a Teofimo fight. But either way, I think that's a fight that they don't fight the same, but they kind of remind me of each other a bit stylistically too, which is a weird thing to say, but I think that fight would be really interesting to see how it would play out also.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. I would love to see him and Navarrete, because Navarrete he's an awkward dude. You can't really prepare for him. And from what I've seen about, with Keyshawn, he adapts really well to a lot of his opponents. So wanting to see him adapt to Navarrete is going to be really, really interesting to see. And that'd be a hell of a fight for sure.
Yeah. But obviously him and Teofimo remind me of each other. Him and Navarrete don't at all. But that's why that fight would be so cool. It would be interesting to see how he deals with the pressure, the awkwardness. Some of those lunging shots by Navarrete, he'd still have a good chance in that fight. But I think the shorter, crisper shots by Keyshawn, especially which we saw in the Pedraza fight, would probably end up being the difference. But we'll segue over now to the main event, because there's been a lot of conversation about this main event. I mean, I didn't know at first when I was scoring this fight early on. And I mean, don't get me wrong, New England bias. Obviously, I talked with Abraham before about the fight, a bunch of guys in this area. So we're all pulling for Jamaine. Abraham sparred with Jamaine a lot coming into this camp. So I knew Jamaine was in great shape. I knew he was ready to go. And I'm just watching these rounds go by, and Jamaine's not blowing him out by any means. But I'm like, okay, that's a round that Jamaine probably won, outboxing and making Teo miss. And okay, there's another round, and another round, and another round. And then I'm like, man, is he up like 5-1 right now? But then I go to my timeline, and that's what a lot of people have. Some people had it closer than that. But I really did think that Jamaine was controlling a lot of the early rounds. And people look at, I think it was still, every round was competitive. So there were a lot of swing rounds. But to me, Jamaine was winning what I call like 60-40 rounds. He would do just enough so he would make Teo miss really, really wide. And then even if he wasn't landing a ton of punches, he was landing just enough kind of in those rounds. So did you feel that same thing early on? Did you think, because there's been a lot of people who either thought Jamaine was looking really good, a lot of people who thought he wasn't throwing his hands nearly as much, and that Teofimo coming forward was still the guy controlling the action. So what was your thought just about the early rounds kind of in that fight as it played out?
So as far as like the early rounds, and actually, just in general, my whole assessment of the fight itself, and I do think Jamaine was doing a hell of a job. He had his game plan. He went in there, he executed it, and he stuck with it the entire time. He didn't fall out of it. He didn't fall into any traps, no mind games, nothing. He stuck to what he wanted to do. And then I'll say this: if Teo wasn't a champion, it was a 50-50 fight. There was no A side, B side. There was no network tied to it. Jamaine would have won. If Jamaine was the champion and Teo was the challenger, Jamaine would have won. But because of, and it's not going to make sense to some people, but boxing purists understand, if you're fighting for a title, you have to push just a little harder to go after that champion. You can put on the same performance as a champion against a challenger. If you're the champion, you can squeeze by a boring performance like that. But if you're the challenger, you have to take the fight to the champion just a little harder. It's not just a do your game plan and get by. You have to go in there and take that title from the champion. And that's what he won the fight by a certain scope of view, but in reality, obviously he didn't. And I think the politics part is what played his hand in that role right there. Again, if he was the champion, if he was the A side, he would have won. If it was 50-50, he would have won.
I like that you mentioned that, because that's exactly the conversation I was having. I was Abraham and a bunch of other guys in the gym earlier today, but that's exactly kind of what we were saying, is that if Jamaine was the money guy behind him, he would have won that fight. And another thing that some of those other fighters have brought up is what you had brought up, just that he didn't do enough to kind of take the belt from the champion. And to me, that's an interesting thing, because they were saying, even not necessarily is it the right thing, but it's just kind of how boxing goes. So I think, would you probably agree with that? Is you're not even saying that's necessarily the way it should go, but that's just kind of the reality that we live in at this point, is even if Jamaine wins a 7-5, maybe an 8-4 kind of fight, if it's dull enough, he's not going to get the benefit of the doubt, even if he probably should. That's just kind of the way the game goes.
Yeah, for the most part. And then, I mean, kind of like, it's a 50-50 fight. Like, if somebody wasn't paying attention, like, who do we give it to? Give it to the champion. It's just kind of like one of those type of things. And yeah, it is just kind of just that politics and a little bit, and not necessarily even having a connection. I'm not saying that Teofimo has the judges in his back pocket or anything like that, but in a role like this, like, again, that's just kind of how boxing is. It's like you said, it's not the way it should be. And it's just kind of one of those gray areas that we just kind of like, this is just kind of how it is. It's kind of how it's going to play out for the history of the sport. And it's never changed. It's kind of always goes like that too.
Yeah, I like what you said too about Jamaine, because one thing that me and a few other guys from this area were kind of worried about with Jamaine coming into this fight is, just like any fighter, he loves to fight. He loves to he's a great boxer, and we saw him do a lot of that in this fight, but we were worried that against the counterpuncher in Teofimo, which I've always said that guys who have good feet are always going to give Teofimo problems, a good jab and good feet, because when he chases guys, he lunges in and his work is sloppy, versus when you come at him, he's sharp and he's a great counterpuncher. His timing and all that stuff is unbelievable. So I was worried that Jamaine was kind of going to do good early, but then was going to kind of fall into some of those traps. But you saw even when Teofimo was kind of waving him in, he never came in. And even when he'd come in, he'd land a shot or two, but then he'd step back and not allow himself to get countered. So I understand why people would be kind of upset with his performance, but I think style-wise, it's exactly what he had to do. And even if it wasn't enough for him to win, maybe, he could have thrown a few more punches this round or that round, but maybe then he would have gotten clipped and knocked down, and then there would have been no argument for him winning the fight. So I just think that he did the game plan basically as well as he could, but I think that I was really impressed with his discipline, because that was one thing I was curious about coming in, is was he going to be able to stay disciplined like that? I knew he was in great shape. Him moving for 12 rounds like that didn't surprise me. It was his mental going to allow him to do that? So that was what was really impressive to me. And what Jeff mentions too about the scorecard. So I will say is that if it was 115-113 unanimous for Teofimo, Would I be happy? Nah, but I mean, I could kind of understand it a bit. Okay, he's the A-side guy. 7-5, cool, whatever. I still thought Jamaine won, but I would be all right with that, I guess. But 117, 111,
Yeah,
that's
that
just what
was
I
crazy.
don't. Bro, no joke. When I heard 117, 111, I stood up in my living room. I'm like, Jermaine won. Like the judges got it right. Like they actually gave him the rounds,
That's what I was thinking too.
and I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy shit. I mean, bro, he's gonna actually take this home because I was sitting there thinking, especially when Teofimo kind of closed stronger in the later rounds. I'm like, man, I think Teo might be doing just enough for him to sneak out this fight. They're gonna sprinkle in a few early rounds that he maybe shouldn't have got. He's gonna take that shit. When I heard 117, 111, I was like, hold on now, we got and the new I think coming up. Then it
Yeah.
was and still. So would you like? I just think the 117, 111 scorecard. I know you guys are gonna have a talk Monday about the on the shop. I know Ray's probably gonna try to defend that scorecard a little bit, but is there any way that you could see Teofimo winning 9 rounds? Because to me, I mean, New England bias aside, because I think there's a lot of people who have no connection to Teofimo. I mean, to Jamaine. Not, I don't even know Jamaine per se, but I know guys who know him. Abraham was in camp with him and stuff. So obviously, I rooted for him to win. But a lot of guys who have no connection to either guy or even New York people were saying, "Man, 9 rounds, I just can't see it." So, is there any way, given it all the swing rounds to Teofimo, you could even see 9 rounds? Because for me, man, I just can't see how they got to that.
I don't know about 9 rounds. I can see 7-5. I can give him that, but 9 rounds. When I heard that, I'm saying I had the same reaction as you too. Granted, I didn't stand up, but I was like, "Oh shit, it's a wrap." Because you you put the wheels. I had already hit on a parlay earlier that day, so I was feeling good about my bets. And then you're like, "I just dropped some money on Jermaine." I was like, "Oh shit, let me go ahead and let me do that." Because the live betting, why not? And it seems like he's gonna take an upset. So when I heard the 117, 111, I was like, there's no way I'm going to hit twice in a day. And no, there was no way because it wasn't for him.
Man, talk about bets too, man. I really thought I was cheating the system. In the middle of that fight, I got Jamaine decision at plus 420. I was
Bro,
like, you know what? I think that's worth it. I did the same exact thing you did. I was like, hey, and I knew even if it was like a 50-50 fight at the time, I thought, okay, plus 420 is worth it. What I'm even more mad about is I had a parlay of, I split it with the guy who runs the gym that I train at too, but we split $25 a piece to win like 900 something
wow.
on Abraham and Jamaine because they're both sizable underdogs together.
Yeah.
So if we turn around and Abraham wins Friday, I'm gonna be like, damn man, a few rounds the other way, and I could have been bringing home a nice chunk of change. So that
Yeah.
was what aggravated me a bit too, knowing that I was so close to that, like being there and obviously having all the confidence in the world for Abraham on Friday. So man, 0 for 2 on that one. But hey, what are you gonna do? That's the problem
Yeah.
with betting this boxing game. Sometimes you never truly know.
Man, I know. And me and Ray, I'll never forget. It was like one of the biggest parlays that I ever did. It was like the entire card. There was like 6 fights, maybe 5 fights that we had bet on that card. And it was the last fight, the one fight that we were like sure on. It was Ricky Hatton's comeback fight. I'm like, oh, come on. Ricky Hatton's comeback fight. They're going to feed him some tomato can. Of course he's going to win. That's the lock. So after I had finished all the other fights, I was like, boom, we might as well celebrate. We hit this ticket. Tell me how Ricky Hatton got stopped with a body shot in the last minute of the last round. I was so upset. I was like, I think I definitely quit betting for a while after that one too.
Yeah, no doubt. That's the thing is it ups and downs, and that's why we always say on here that I'll do plays here and there, but it's only a little sprinkle, $10, $15, $20 here and there. But that's why you never want to go. Always say bet at your own risk. We'll kind of give advice. Or we like this pick, we like that pick, but bet at your own risk because as we say here, one, once you step in that squared circle, anything can happen. And two, even when you think you know what's happening, you never truly know until the scorecards are read. And I think we found that out last night for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, without a doubt. I think after with all the dog watches, we're gonna have to put that gambling addiction number in the comments.
We might have to, but hey, if they've been listening to Dog Watch recently, I mean, Barroso had a nice win. We got Abraham coming up, so we've been doing
Yeah.
pretty good. We had Saul Sanchez against Maloney was almost there, so what a nice little run coming up. So there it is right there. So
Yeah, baby.
yeah, we might have to get one with Abraham's head on it on the dog
Yeah, there we go.
next Friday night. So with the WBC belt, there we go. But last thing before we get out of here, what do you want to see next from Jamaine Ortiz? Because there's two swings of that. I think a lot of people are saying, oh, after that performance, I kind of don't really want to see him. But there's a lot of people saying, no, I want to see him against a Keyshawn. I want to see him against some of these other guys, even at 140 pounds. So where do you want to see him at? Because for me, I think that even though he wanted to win, this is the conversation we were having in the gym earlier, I think win, lose, or draw, he proved himself to be a world level fighter. And his two losses against Lomachenko and Teofimo, I think, are valued more than I value more than a lot of people's wins in and around that weight class. So is he a guy that you'd want to see? Do you think maybe does the style matchup have to be right? Because I think for me, he's still a real player, and I don't think that we've seen the last of Jamaine Ortiz, to say the least, for sure.
No, I definitely want to see some more from Jamaine Ortiz. He kind of gives me the again, those are two losses to two of the best. I mean,
two close losses too. Both
Yeah.
fights, a few rounds go the other way. He could have 2 wins under his belt against those two guys too.
without a doubt. He's like the Brian Mendoza kind of, like he's right there. And Brian Mendoza is a name you're gonna keep hearing for a lot of years. He's become like that spokesperson for that type of fighter because we're starting to see more and more of that. These guys not losing their stride, still keep moving forward. What I would really like to see Jamaine Ortiz do is position himself into a George Kambosos fight and beat Kambosos, and then try to get a TO rematch after that. I think beating the guy who beat the guy will get you a rematch in a close fight eventually. So I think that's not a bad strategy for him as far as like what I'd like to see in the future. But either way, I think he's gonna do okay around there. Whether or not he wins a world title, there's plenty of money to be made with his name.
Yeah, but I would love to see that Kambosos fight for Jamaine. I think he matches up well in that fight. I think he's a huge kid, so he's up at 140 now. So maybe Kambosos would have to, and Kambosos is also going to fight Loma, so I think Loma's going to kind of clean that up a little bit and grab that belt. But maybe a rematch with Loma, even though he's going to be at 140, so not really realistic. But there's a lot of names up at 140. We talk about that as being one of the most stacked divisions. There's 20 to 25 different guys in there. So, man, he's 100% going to be in the mix. As Hybrid says, yeah, I can't see. Kambosos he's a small 135 guy. So I would love for him to get that fight. Just as you said, just to beat the guy who beat the guy to earn the shot. But unfortunately, I don't see Kambosos going to 140. But either way, I think Jamaine proved himself, and I think that he's going to stick around. So even if it's a loss, and which people can argue about that, I think it's going to do wonders for his career. Just like he lost to Lomachenko, and we saw that also awarded him this opportunity. So he's going to stick around. I think he proved, anytime you prove that you're on the world-class level, until somebody beats you out of that, you're going to always kind of stick around. So whether it's even a fight that I'd like to see for him, I think him and Keyshawn would be the perfect fight next. I think we kind of mentioned that a bit earlier. Yeah. Even Teofimo mentioned him earlier, but put Jamaine in with Keyshawn. If Keyshawn's going to move up to 140, that would be the perfect fight to kind of test the waters and see how he deals with that, compare that to Teofimo. And if Keyshawn were to win, then put him in with Teofimo next.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting fights around that area for him now, without a doubt.
For sure. And then I would love to stay on a little longer, but your boy's got about an hour and 40 minutes to do, maybe more than an hour and 40 minutes worth of schoolwork. So he's gonna get at it. But as always, just support all of our stuff. Support local boxing, ITR Boxing. We've got a bunch of great stuff. I know Nibs has a fantastic feature that he's going to have coming out. He did with a specialist who does stuff with head trauma and CTE and brain injuries. So he did that. He was telling me pre-show, we were talking about it the other day too. So a lot of interesting facts about boxing and about other sports, about the weight cutting, the effects that it has. So that's going to be very informative. As Felix said earlier, and as I mentioned, check out my episode of The Fight Life with Abraham Nova. Man, him and his trainer, Mark DeLuca, who's also a current fighter right now, they gave me a ton of content. I can't thank those guys enough. I told them it personally already, but they gave us a real deep dive into just the training camp and even their lives as a fighter and a trainer, so I can't thank them enough for it. But we've kind of had you. We've spoken a bit about it too, but if you had to give one kind of takeaway from that, even from what we heard from Abraham today and also the Fight Life episode, what would it be of kind of just the culture that they have kind of in that gym and what him and Mark are kind of building together?
Just a good, solid, like hard work, very passionate about the sport, very self-aware, which is missing from a lot of camps and fighters, but definitely self-awareness is huge. And kind of like a friendly, like a relaxed vibe that, you have between the two. It definitely feels like a brotherhood as well. Like that's my takeaway is they do have a strong connection, and the vibe is the same on both ends. Again, self-aware, confident, relaxed, and I like the faith as well. As Abraham's a huge man of faith, I love that. So that's like one of the big things for me from that I've taken.
Yeah, no, 100%. And Mark's someone who I've gotten to know I've known Mark for a few years now, and Abraham I've known just this year, but it feels like I've already known him for a few years. Even the way he talks, it opens up with us, man. It's been building great relationships. I'm excited to see him fight night. Boxing Shop will be on Monday, I believe. You guys are gonna be back at it again, so tune
Yes,
into
sir.
the Boxing Shop Monday. Tune in, and we're gonna have a bunch of stuff coming on our ITR platforms. Check out our Instagram. Check out all of our social medias and everything. So that's it for today. Your boy's got to get his schoolwork done, but salute to everybody tuning in. Hybrid, Jeff, everybody else we had in the chat, and we will see y'all. I'm not sure when Catch a Connor will be back because I'll be in the building fight night for the Abraham Friday, so maybe the next week after that. But tune into the Boxing Shop on Monday. ITR Boxing. We out of here.